Hi, and welcome to Kaleidoscience. Here you find answers about cognition that you may or may not have asked yourself. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode.
Hello and welcome everybody. Today we have an extra special episode because we don't have a guest today. It's just the five of us for the first time talking to you. And we're going to do a little season recap and also give you some information what's going to happen in the next season, which is already the fourth season. And yeah, if you want some inside information and maybe a little bit more about us, you can stick around.
I was really hoping for just a button to give a short woohoo when you said the next season will be our fourth season. Because I feel like that's insane.
For next year, we need a small cake with a candle.
Yes.
For the
Yeah,
5-year
it's half a decade then.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, we kind of come up with these season specials, but we would also be very willing to do what you think is fun. So if you have an idea what you would like to know, or if you would like us to talk about fun facts, knitting projects, our favorite kinds of beer, we're all up for that.
Just comment. Just comment. When you're listening on Spotify, comment or send us a message, because otherwise we won't know.
You can also send us a message on Instagram.
Or email. We even have an email, an official podcast email.
All of the information on how to reach us can be found in the show notes of the podcast.
Okay, so let's start. We prepared some questions, kind of.
So all of us have played the welcome game multiple times, and most of the answers are quite static, I would say. But we picked out one question from the welcome game to start this episode. And yeah, let's start with that.
The question is, what are you most fascinated by?
Who wants to start?
I think it's the first time I'm having a really hard time to come up with an answer to this question.
If you guys want, I can start, because I already thought about that question.
Oh, prepared.
Yes, finally, for the first time. One thing I'm fascinated by, which has come up like the last couple days, is tradwives and like how they present themselves on the internet. Because I'm reading the book called Yesteryear, and I just started reading it, but it's so interesting and like so. I feel like the character is just so well thought out, I'd say. And it's just like really fascinating to me how the author is kind of making up the world of this tradwife, which she is making up her world. So yeah, that's something I have been fascinated by the past couple of days.
Could you repeat the name of the book, because I didn't get it?
Yesteryear.
Yesteryear. Oh yeah, okay. I think I've heard of it.
Highly recommend. So far, I'm just like on the half of the book right now, but so far it's quite good.
I listened to the audiobook and it's really good.
We should probably link that in the show notes of the episode.
I mean, I can go
How
next.
about you?
Sorry.
Sönke, what are you most fascinated by?
I don't have a book I'm reading right now, so that's kind of sad. And I don't have like a topic I'm really fascinated by, but currently the World Cup is still ongoing, so I'm spending quite an amount of time watching sports, and I think that's like has captivated me. I'm not sure like fascinated is the correct word, but yeah, it's like the one thing that takes up disproportionately much of my time right now.
Fair. What is the team you are rooting for most?
I mean, I don't know when this will come out. There is only the final left, probably, right? Hopefully, this will come out this
Yes.
Thursday. But like
It can also be a team which is already like lost.
I mean, just yesterday, because we're recording this on Sunday, the Norwegian team was kicked out of the tournament, but it was like very fascinating to see because they had never been this far into the tournament, and they have been on a very steady rise across the last decade in like sports in general. So it was like really fascinating to see how their work in the youth has paid off right now, and they are really becoming like an actual contender for world title.
Mm. I also love like their pre-game thing with the rowing, where they just like all of them are sitting down.
I think that's pretty amazing because the New Zealand rugby team has kind of the same when they do the haka. I think it's called haka, where they kind of, I think it's mainly the team and not the people watching. But so it's this community thing where you sync your movement and kind of have this routine to get yourself more excited. And
Or like in the mood.
I think it also kind of improves the performance of the players, at least for rugby, because the haka is quite impressive. So it's also watching it is really impressive in a way of it seems not violent but kind of aggressive,
Threatening.
and it's kind of pushing yourself or pushing them to kind of play better because it's so superior postures, etc.
And I think it's also like especially designed to like intimidate the opponent who doesn't do the thing beforehand.
I think it comes from a tradition of warriors to kind of do it before going into war, into a fight, to kind of collect or to improve the mental stability, whatever, of the people. I don't want to push it here, but I think that's kind of where the tradition came from originally.
Do we do like a hot potato thing? Because like Clara kind of passes to me and I'm now pointing
Sure.
to Sophie. What are you most fascinated by right now?
This might be a little bit random. I was thinking, and it's not something really specific, but it's something that has been sparked in some conversations and also in the book yesteryear, or that was just brought up again. And I think what has been fascinating to me is that no matter how well you mean, you can still be the bad person in somebody else's like perception. This is very abstract right now, but I can actually tell a story that kind of emphasizes this. Sometimes I smile at people because I think it's a nice thing to do. And when I was an au pair in Paris, I was on the metro. And at the end of the metro wagon, there was an elderly lady. And she kind of looked roughly in my direction. So I smiled at her. And she picked up her handbag and put it like from the seat next to her onto her lap and held onto it. So when she goes home, she probably tells the story of this young person who seemed threatening and was looking at her while I just thought, it's a nice elderly lady, a nice looking elderly lady. I don't know if she's nice. I have not had any more contact with her afterwards because she didn't seem very wishful to engage in that. And to me, I just thought I was being nice. And I feel like this has been on my mind a lot that, that it's very interesting because no matter how well you mean for everybody involved, the outcome might still be that people are displeased or unhappy about your choices. So, and I feel like this is also something that kind of stuck out to me in yesteryear. That with all that she does, she seems to mean well, even though I don't agree with what she does in a lot of aspects. I'm not going to say more because I don't want to spoil the book for anybody.
Yes, please. It would be very, very sad if you do that.
I know the
I was so tempted actually to just skip forward and
No.
to be like, does she get out of this reality or not?
Don't
But
do
then I was just like, okay, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not a child anymore. As a child, I did that.
I still do that. I'm regarding that. I'm super shy. No, I always skip to the last 10 pages and just read 2 sentences there.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I don't get what is happening because I just read some names which I don't know, but I still do that actually.
I did
Because I
that
don't have patience.
once. Like I used to read the last line or the last page of a book. And I did that once and was spoiled so heavily that I then stopped doing it for a while. But then I picked it up again.
I tend to read the last sentence, I think. I hot potato Imogen now.
So originally I wanted to say that I'm most fascinated by how you can actually reach an audience who is not already part of the scientific community with science communication. Because I feel like that's really, really difficult. I think most of our listeners are probably students or researchers in the field of cognitive science or in any related fields. And I don't know, my ideal idea would be that somebody who is not into research at all finds our podcasts and thinks that the stuff our guests do is super fascinating, and then they look more into science. But yeah, it's quite unrealistic. So yeah, that was something that I have been thinking about quite a lot. But honestly, now with the topics that we talked about, I think one thing that I'm even more fascinated by, which acts kind of as an umbrella to also this thing with how we can reach more people through science communication, is community building outside of the internet. Like how you can get involved in your local community. Also thinking about what is feasible for me. Yeah, that has been on my mind quite a lot. Yeah, and I threw the hot potato over to Elisa.
I think it's not a hot potato by now anymore.
Warm to the touch potato.
Well, perfectly to be eaten potato, I guess. I was quite a lot on Instagram the past 2 days just because I was quite drawn into different political points of views, and that just pulled me into the Instagram algorithm, and it was not good for me. But at some point I stumbled across a profile of a person who is having different quite exotic animals or pets, and in her aunt's terrarium she found a slime mold, and I've never heard of that before, and I'm quite fascinated by that organism now. And I already told Imogen sometime earlier about it, because it's like I have the Wikipedia page open right now because I wouldn't be able to say it all correctly, but it's neither animal nor plant nor fungi, because in German it's called slime fungus, so it's none of that. And it can be, which I didn't know before, it can be multiple or one-celled. And the one she had was a plasmodial slime mold, which is a single-cell slime mold. So it's just one-cell organism, which is quite intelligent. So it can kind of solve or can get through mazes quite easily and quite quickly. It can move. She was told to feed it with oat, so they digest oat and carbs. They kind of look a bit like a tree-like structure and just spread across whatever they are living on. And like I wouldn't want to hold it as a living organism at home because I don't want to say disgusted because it's still kind of an whatever living thing, and I don't want to judge it, but I'm just quite fascinated by a brainless, non-animal-like organism that has some kind of intelligence is moving and is just, yeah, I don't know. I can't explain it, but I'm just quite fascinated by it. And
You also mentioned that it grows quite large in size.
yeah, it can get like the largest ever, the largest in captivity was, I think, 5.5 square meter, and in the wild, it's the largest it can get is 1 square meter. So it's still large. It's still quite big, and like it needs moist environments to survive. But when it's dried, it just kind of dries together, shrinks, and once it gets wet again, it just spreads again. And it can have up to 720 different genders, apparently.
That's wild.
Yes.
And like, why is it growing? Like, could it grow in my bathroom?
No, I think it's kind of like it's it needs I don't want to say starter. It's a bit like with a fungus that you kind of need a spawn at the beginning for it to grow. And then it kind of grows out of that, or you need a starting dried patch. And the person who found it in her ants kind of reconstructed that she got it on the leaves of some berry which she picked up for her ants to put in the terrarium, and then she just had this thing growing. And she even found a different kind. So she had a yellow Plasmodium slime mold, and then she also found a different one on one of her trees that she had in the terrarium.
That's wild.
And the big one, so the 1 square meter one or the 5 square meter one, was it one cell still?
Mhm.
Whoa.
Yes.
Because normally cells are small.
Yes.
Does it have DNA?
Presumably. I think the different genders come from different parts of DNA, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm not that deep into it. I was just really fascinated by it.
We will link the Wikipedia article in the show notes. These show notes are going to be a wild ride.
Long.
So, from the episodes of this season, do you have anything, any facts, any moments, anything that kind of stuck out to you and or that you are still very present on?
I think I just keep the hot potato. I think for me it's that cats don't necessarily have a favorite paw, but that depending on the environment they're living in, they can switch the dominant paw. But that pawedness can have cognitive benefits for cats.
Fun.
So if you want to re-listen to that, it's in the episode "What Happens in the Brain of Your Cat" with Dr. Sivim Ispata and Professor Nadja Freund. And I can really recommend this episode. It's not only for cat fans, but because we also talk a bit about dogs.
I'd like to give a fun fact about that because we initially planned on doing stats in this episode, but we scrapped that. But the most popular episode, to the surprise of absolutely no one, if you consider the Spotify most played episode, which is the main way of hearing our podcast, I guess, is actually the cat episode. So people on the internet living up to the expectations here.
Yes. Okay, should I hot potato the next person again?
Yes.
Clara, because you were so enthusiastic about it.
I don't have like a specific, like very specific thing, which I still have in mind, but I liked our like special winter episode about science communication because I thought it's like really interesting how other creators are just like doing their stuff and giving a little insight how they're working. Yes. Alright. I'm gonna hot potato Sophie.
So I think, I think one of the most interesting things that kind of stuck out to me, or like one of the fun facts, is when Karen Emery talked about that a lot of people who are not hearing or like deaf actually read faster, and that they kind of can do the speed reading that a lot of people actually try to learn. And they're investigating how that works and why. And I think that was my favorite fun fact from this episode, from this season.
Wasn't it also only for deaf at birth people?
Yes.
Yeah.
I hot potato Sönke.
I was about to intercept if you had hot potato at Imogen, so I'm perfectly happy because my most interesting moment, I guess, came from the same episode, and it is the fact because I never really thought about sign language that much before, and then I like realized that subconsciously I always assumed that like all sign languages were invented by people, for example, like Tolkien invented like Elvish, so like it's completely made up by like one or two people. But as it turned out, like some of them are invented and some of them are not invented, and that's like really fascinating because it was like one of the first times since like we have rigorous scientific methods that like humans created a new language that isn't there before, and that we then kind of had the chance to observe like how humans create language and how the actually naturally arising languages differ from the ones that were invented by like the expert groups who then like dictated the rules. And I found that really fascinating, and it kind of went against my subconscious beliefs that like all sign languages were invented by a small group of people. And now you, Imogen, you're the only one left who didn't touch the potato for the second time.
Me and my lukewarm potato. So I think what I found, or one of the episodes that I found most interesting, was the episode with Professor Rainer Bromme, which was on science communication, or what does research say about science communication. And what stuck with me was that at some point he said that actually, like, the broader public doesn't need to know or understand all of science, because there are a lot of areas that are quite niche. I guess a lot of the stuff that we are looking into in cognitive science would fall under that as well. If you look, for example, at computational models of neurons, they don't have any practical applicability for people in their day-to-day life. So why would they need to know about them? But the more important thing he said was that if the public at any point needs information about a certain topic because it's politically relevant, we as scientists need to make sure to make them available in a way that it's easily found and easily to digest. And that gave me a whole new outlook on what the motivation behind science communication maybe should be, or in what way we should strive to present current scientific progress, I guess. Yeah. I mean, there's still merit for just explaining cool science stuff for the sake of it, but yeah. That the main focus maybe should be on preparing making the societally relevant science easily understandable.
Okay, then next point was who, or do you have a dream guest? I think I wouldn't directly say, only also dream guest, but also maybe dream topic, which you would love to talk about. Like, it doesn't have to be alive, can be any person you could think of.
Yeah, I can start with that question. So last season, so in season 2, we already had a topic block about gender. And when we started out planning the block, we also wanted to feature sexuality more in this topic block. And I think it would be cool to do another block more focused on, sexuality, love, and so on. Because one of the most interesting courses that I did in university was actually a seminar on asexuality, where we discussed a lot of different approaches, definitions for asexuality. And yeah, I found this really fascinating because I think a lot of people don't realize how big of a role sexuality plays in our everyday lives and how alienated you can feel if you don't fit into this standard framework of like experiencing sexual attraction on some level. And yeah, I think there are also, like, besides different sexual orientations, there's also really cool stuff to explore in terms of the neuroscience behind attraction. And yeah, I think it would be really cool to discuss that in our upcoming season. I will toss this new boiling hot potato to Clara.
I was just thinking something I personally would find really interesting because I'm like reading into that stuff right now for my master thesis and all that, is maybe like a bridge between cognitive science and media science, and like finding out, or maybe we could find like a topic where we could bridge especially like social media communication and cognitive science. That's it's a really loose idea right now. I haven't thought about it that long, but yeah, I think that would be really cool because first of all, we would have the ability to reach more people and to dive like into also other areas. And I'm personally just really fascinated about social media communication right now.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm gonna toss the 30-degree potato to Elisa.
I think I also don't have a person I would love to talk to. Just a topic that we wanted to cover in this season, I just didn't manage to. Which I would still love to cover is what kind of use cases of machine learning in the general health area. So in maybe psychiatry, but also for predicting cancer, etc. So just actual use cases of, well, AI or machine learning algorithms to help in diagnostics, to help support people. And I would really love to have that covered maybe next season or the season after, just because I think that's also one of the topics that is applicable to everyone listening, not only scientists, to get it back to Imo's point from a bit earlier. And I toss the slightly cooled potato to Sophie.
I think I had a little bit of my dream guest already with Karen Emery, because she wrote a lot of the literature I read for my bachelor thesis. So it was actually really, really cool to talk to her now, a few years later. And one of the guests I would find really, really interesting, but also intimidating, and at this point I also think impossible, but also very classical, so everybody can now take a good guess at who I'm aiming, would be Noam Chomsky, obviously. But I don't think he still gives interviews. Apparently he's not in good health condition. I've read on the news recently. But since he is kind of the founder of the field of cognitive science, that would obviously be the person to invite to a cognitive science podcast.
Fun fact here. Our university once had an interview with Noam Chomsky, which was actually organized by I think a second semester student who just reached out to him via email, and he replied and was totally up for it. And that was during the pandemic, and I think so many Coxie students were watching it at the same time. It was really nice to have this unifying event while we couldn't actually meet in person. I remember I actually watched it with my dad because I was home at that time, and I know he's listening. So it was really fun to watch that with you, Dad.
So for everybody who wants to listen to Noam Chomsky, even though we will not invite him to the podcast, the interview will be in the show notes as well. It's also in English.
Everything's gonna be in the show notes.
And I guess I complete the dream guest.
Sorry, I forgot.
round.
I was holding on to the potato for dear life, but I will pass it on now.
Back when I was still in Osnabrück studying cognitive science, I mostly focused my work on like artificial intelligence and things I thought would be very useful later on. But like very interesting courses to me were always like from the philosophy department, and I would every semester like take 1 or 2 of those courses like on the side kind of. And there was one course on the topic of vagueness, so like very vague expressions pose like a problem to formal logic and our understanding of language, because we don't really can cover that with like the formal logic symbols, and that was like a very interesting seminar. And there was like the first half of the seminar were like different positions on the topic, and then there was like one paper by a philosopher called Evans, and it's like my favorite paper of all time because it's only like 1 page long, and it has like completely transformed the conversation about vagueness, so that like the second half of the seminar was only discussing that one paper. Because like unfortunately like 2 years after the paper was published, the person who publishes died of cancer at a very young age, so we don't really understand what he actually meant, and it was like a bit confusing. This paper is only a page long. No, it was just like it claimed what it wanted to prove. Then there is a proof that proves like that there is nothing to prove, and then the paper just ends, and it makes no sense. But it's like to like the community very very important, and people have like various interpretations of what that means. So like if we say like we don't limit ourselves to like dream guests who are still alive, I guess like talking to him and what he actually meant in that paper would be like this dream come true.
You want to work up the trauma that you got from the seminar.
That was just so one of the largest questions in that area of philosophy.
I actually have one person also who I thought about, which would be or who would be interesting to talk to. I think because I really love the stuff that she's doing and how she's tackling like the whole science communication thing. So yeah, I think that would be really cool as well.
The next question we had written down is what other podcasts we would do if we didn't spend our time doing this podcast. And I guess for me, because I actually like almost 2 years ago, I guess, did like a test run of doing like a podcast on happenings in the esports world, going back to like my fascination of the day. And but I didn't. I mean, I didn't even tell you guys, and I didn't really promote it anywhere, and it had like exactly 0 viewers. But I was quite happy about that because I was unhappy with what I had put out, and so I stopped doing it. But since like a very big esports tournament just wrapped actually today, I kind of like was feeling a bit sad that it didn't work out like 2 years ago, and I was wondering if I, with what I know now, I could restart it, but I'm not planning on doing that right now. Yeah, but that's probably what I'd be doing.
Especially because some of the games were so interesting.
Exactly.
Like they were actually close. Sorry.
Yeah, Imogen, do you then also want to continue with what you would be doing?
Sure. I guess my answer is quite similar to what probably Sophie and Elisa are going to say. I would do a knitting podcast. Actually, I already planned out a whole concept for a knitting and science podcast because apparently there's quite a large overlap in people, or especially women, who do their PhD and who knit quite a lot in their spare time. And I think it would be really cool to just, sit down with researchers, talk about their science, but also talk about knitting. To have a more relaxed start into it. And also just because I want to talk about knitting.
So if you really feel like that idea, that could be our next special. Leave a comment, please, so we can do that.
Like not nudging you into allowing us to do it within this podcast.
Okay, so in order to not have two similar answers back to back, I will again pass the hot potato to Clara.
I don't have an idea for like a personal project right now that I'd like to do, but I actually would love to do like a news podcast professionally. Like, because for context, I would love to work as a journalist, and I really love working with audio, which is also why I'm doing an audio feature for my master's thesis. And I just like to listen to news podcasts myself because I think it's like one of the most convenient ways to consume news. So yeah, it's something I would really love to do. It just like my dream would be to do like a news podcast with Zeit, because they have like a really cool news podcast in my opinion. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the future.
Fingers crossed.
I'm gonna pass the potato, which is probably mashed by now. Sophie.
Yeah, I mean, as Imogen already mentioned, this might be boring, but I feel like a knitting podcast might be high in the ideas. I also, before we did this podcast, I actually planned out a different podcast concept. I actually also recorded an episode that has never seen the light of day. And that was meant to be about people's studies. So Zeit, which has been mentioned a lot, because it's a very good German medium, has a lot of podcasts. One of them is called Frisch an die Arbeit, which means like fresh to work if you translate it directly, but it's more like kind of a little bit like let's go to work or something. And they interview people from all kinds of different professions. And I find that very interesting because they talk about what people do in their day-to-day life. Because we obviously know what we do for the bigger part, and we might know other professions with which we interact. Like, I have a rough concept of what a GP does, but I don't have a specific concept of what their day-to-day looks like, and how they organize their day and why they do things as they do. And I think that's really interesting to me about this podcast because I get an insight I would normally not get. So they also don't they have all kinds of profession. I think they've talked to a porn star, but they've also talked to a rabbi, but they've also talked to a vet for zoo animals, I think specifically. And I think it's really cool to hear what their day-to-day life looks like. Somehow that kind of fascinates me. And to now finally make it back to my podcast idea, I was considering doing something like this, but for things you study. Because I feel like, especially with some areas, so first of all, nobody knew what I was doing when I told my parents I wanted to do cognitive science.
It took me about 4 years to understand.
Yeah, to this day, I still have to answer a lot of questions about this. The first one being, but what can you do with that? And there are also a lot of studies which come attached with a lot of prejudice, let's say. So if you, for example, look at computer science, you probably imagine a guy and not a woman. And I think you also just think, oh, I hope you don't, but a lot of people might think that all of them are just nerds. For some studies, you assume that people are smarter than people for other studies, and we just have a lot of prejudice around this. And I think, for example, computer science, if you don't have any contact with it, it's also very hard to imagine what somebody does in computer science. Same goes for physics. We have this study called System Sciences in Osnabrück. No clue what these people do. And I think that would be really interesting to give people insight to more of the day-to-day. What these studies look like, what kind of courses you're taking, what you're learning about, who might join these courses, for what reasons, and yeah. So that was kind of the idea I had for a podcast, but then I ended up doing this instead. Cool. I hot potato Elisa now.
Yay. So I get a semi-hot, mashed, quite touched potato.
It's a Kartoffelpuffer now.
Kartoffelpüree. I don't like Kartoffelpuffer.
That's not my problem.
I don't like anything that's potato and fried. Like deep fried is fine, but not fried.
Oh.
Don't ask. Like fried potatoes get a weird co-taste, I think, and just like that just makes me feel sick. I can't even.
So you also don't like fries?
I love fries. I like deep fried potatoes, but not pan fried.
Okay, I now eat a deep fried fry at Elisa.
Yay! I think for me it's a bit hard to say. But one idea that I once had was to, and I don't even know if that maybe might exist, but to get an quite old person, an elderly person, and a young person into one room and talk about one societal topic or exchange their points of view about one topic that's important to them. Like they don't have to be totally opposite views, but just to kind of get an exchange across generations. I think would be just interesting. And I don't know if I don't even know if that would be interesting to other people, but just listening to Sönke's having a thought. But just
I'm
listening.
pretty sure I've seen that format on
Really?
YouTube with like a 100-year-old talking to a 5-year-old or something.
Oh, really? 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't-
from Cut.
I don't know it. I'm not really on YouTube. Never met it anywhere. I just know another side podcast where two people of totally opposite opinions talk to each other. So this podcast is called Warum denken Sie das? Or Why Do You Think That? Where kind of two people who are totally opposite about one topic, usually quite political topics, talk about the same topic. And then I
It's
thought, well,
also, for example, I think the Süddeutsche Zeitung. So, like, also a big newspaper in Germany has the Streitgespräch. So,
I don't know that
like,
one.
and
Yeah.
arguing also between like 2 points. It's just written down.
Huh, okay. Didn't know that, but anyhow, I at some point had the idea that it might be interesting to, especially topics that are important for different reasons across generations, to have different generations talk about it, or to kind of quite far apart generations. But if it already exists, it's not really a new idea.
There's
So I can't really
also
claim it.
what I find quite interesting, this YouTube format. I don't know which channel, I think Jubilee or something, where they get people from a group, let's say gay men. I'm not sure if they have one about gay men, but just to like describe the group, or like teen moms or something like this. And then they ask them questions and they can say like highly disagree, neutral, agree, or highly agree. And then they have these all these people, but it's very visual. So they walk around, this is all taped on the ground, and then they stand in the area where however they feel about a certain statement. And then they also discuss, and it's very interesting because it's the same group and they kind of discuss because they are the same group, they don't necessarily need to have the same opinion. But it's a similar concept, I think. Yeah.
Okay, our next question. What do you want to learn or try? One thing I really want to learn this year, next year, is needle or nail binding, where basically I think it's the oldest fabric generation craft there is. So it's older than knitting or crocheting or weaving. And you basically have a needle and you create a piece of fabric, which you can also cut. And I think it's just really cool. And I would really like to learn it at some point. Or like in the next 12 months or so. And I hot potato Sophie.
This has also found my Instagram. In a similar vein, I think in English it's called bobbin lace. In German it's called Klöppeln. And I have been very intrigued because it's basically a way to make lace where you attach these wooden things and you basically make knots in a way that create lace. And this is also how lace used to be created in the past, and where lace used to be like very expensive. And because people would just use, and then they have like, I don't really know, probably like 25 strands of thread at least, and they twist these wooden ends in a way that creates lace, which I find quite a mind-blowing concept. So, but yeah, I kind of want to learn it, but I'm also, it seems like a very extensive hobby. Let's leave it at that. Not like a very, you take a look at it and you can pick it up quickly hobby.
Yeah. It's a bit funny because I always heard, or I've quite often heard the German term Klöppeln, but I always thought it was more an aggressive thing. Like I thought it was like
Same.
not like felting maybe, where you kind of have some some material at the beginning, and then you kind of
Needle felting, yeah, and then you just stab it.
or you kind of take a hammer and just hammer it or whatever. Like to me, klöppeln always sounded like quite aggressive, which is because I just look at pictures and it looks so amazing, and I never combined the term with the concept of such a craft.
Such an intricate process.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think colloquially sometimes this is kind of used, like I've heard it, people being like, oh, ich klöppel das schnell zusammen, so I kind of just put it together quickly, kind of in a way. And I mean, I look at klöppeln and I've looked at videos about it. I've actually researched this on YouTube already. And I'm like, I don't think this looks way more complex. This doesn't look like you just go with the flow and have an end product that's nice. Yeah. Okay, I hot potato Sönke.
One thing I want to try in my life is working on a movie, but I am very because like I'm very, like a lot of people, very fascinated with movies, and I kind of want to participate in making one, but so far I haven't like found any real talent. Like I can't write one. I am not good like with cameras. I think I can't do the lighting. Maybe I can do the sound with the podcast experience, but not really. So I have like found my niche yet, but like very vaguely working on a movie is like one of the things I most definitely want to try in my life.
You can cast the talents.
You just need to start like a bachelor's degree in media. Yeah, it's actually something we did, or like for me in my master's, we did like a short film. And then you're also working in a group, so you have multiple people who can help you.
So you don't have to know anything. That's brilliant. Yeah, kind of like this podcast. I'm just tagging along here.
Sönke schneidet das raus.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Clara, do you want to continue with what do you want to try or learn?
I personally would really love to try pottery. I think I would hate it at the beginning because I need patience for it, and I don't have any patience. But I think it's really cool. Like on Instagram, like a couple months ago, I fell into like a rabbit hole where a lot of people did pottery, and I think it looks so cool when they are just sitting on the wheel and kind of just create something out of like a big piece of
Mud.
clay. So yeah, I think that would be really fun. But before I can do that, I need to find a job which is actually paying enough to do this kind of thing.
I could actually also do it at home. Like I had some friends who just did it at home and then brought the done objects to someone to burn it.
Yeah, the thing is, nearly all of my apartment is laid out with carpet. So I think that would be a really bad idea.
Or you could get like, there's this foil you can get when you're painting. For when you're painting. There's really a huge foil to cover all the carpet.
Yeah, no. Still, I wouldn't trust myself around it because I mean, the thing is also you need to use like a lot of water with it. So I'm not sure if it's the best idea in this apartment.
Yeah.
And you just need a little wheel for yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
I like how we have taken this concept of just stating what we want to try into like a social support group where everyone tries to encourage each other to do the thing they want to do.
It started for you, though.
I think instead of a podcast, we should start a support group, and then we invite guests, and they come to us with their problems, and we all 5 just give them advice.
I'm not sure if we would be that helpful to other people, but
We
I mean-
haven't tried yet. That would
It
be a
would be
great
funny, though.
podcast concept.
But I think it would be really funny doing it.
but we would need to do a video podcast with that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sönke can cut this, so he can hone his filmmaking skills.
Even help from there.
We're always helping Sönke.
Who doesn't want help?
And if you ever wonder what our podcast meetings look like, I feel like this is quite representative. Okay, let's continue.
All right. I have like a little bit of mashed potatoes left, and I'm gonna pass it to Imogen. What do you want to try or learn?
I feel like my answer is quite different to what you guys mentioned so far. Every time I get asked what I want to do, at some point, my mind just goes to paragliding or hang gliding. Because like I never felt the urge to go skydiving because I hate the sensation of falling. And I heard that it's not that bad when you're falling from like, I don't know, some kilometers above the earth.
That's fun. It's quite fun.
But yeah, for me that just sounds horrible. But I love the idea of flying. And yeah, growing up, like I grew up next to like a small mountain range in Germany, and on days with nice weather, you could actually see the paragliders all over in the sky, and it just looked so beautiful and peaceful. And yeah, I would just love to fly. Yeah, that would be
sounds
really
so
really cool
wholesome.
to try out.
Nice.
Oh yeah, next question.
Do we have goals for this podcast? Because I feel like we went into this without a long-term plan. Like a long-term plan, most definitely not. We just kind of went into this and we're hoping for the best. And somehow we've made it through 3 seasons. And in August, it's going to be 3 years of this podcast, which, to be very honest, is unexpected, actually. Because I didn't think we would stick to this so long, just because we're doing this for free still. We're still a non-profit. So this is our hobby. And we are 5 people who organized this together.
And still talk to each other besides doing podcast meetings and like each other, which I think is
Yeah.
also really worth mentioning when you're doing
Yeah.
like such a long-term project where you, sorry to interrupt you here, but where you need just lots of organization
and
and
figure out.
micromanagement and figuring things out, and things don't go well, or you
We
have
disagree.
to just find a solution. Yeah, we disagree. We argue about things or how to continue things. Just
And we all also have a very busy life, which we're trying to navigate with that.
And I think the biggest thing about, or like one of the also very interesting things is, I don't like, we wouldn't know each other if we didn't have this podcast.
at least
Because-
not that well.
Yeah, or I
Like
mean,
not at all, or not
Or
that
at
well
all.
as we do. Yeah.
because I didn't know Imogen or Sönke really before. I only knew Elisa. My sister Clara only knew me. So, and I mean, Elisa knew everybody but Clara. So I feel like it's
I
also,
also didn't know Imogen. We met
oh, yeah.
for the podcast as well.
I was Imogen's tutor and Imogen was mine. So we actually did kind of know each other before, but that's a very cognitive science thing. We're not
Oh, I
going
didn't know that yet. I
in
actually didn't
depth
know that yet.
into. Yeah, we once in a meeting figured that one out. Yeah, and I think that also makes it kind of impressive. And I sometimes wonder if that's one of the reasons why it works, or
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
like if this is why it works, or if it's impressive that it works despite that. Because sometimes you get advice that you shouldn't have good like projects with your good friends, so you don't fall out. Like I have a friend, for example, who used to say she would never ever move in again with good friends. And maybe that's why it works, but at the same time it's also crazy that this works and we could figure out a rhythm where everybody is okay enough to keep doing that without anybody being like sad about this. And I mean, Alina left after the first season, but she didn't leave on bad terms. She just left due to like time issues. So it's not like we kicked her out or anything. And with her, it was no different. So like the organization and the figuring out and stuff was still going surprisingly well. Yeah. So back to the actual question. Do we have goals? So do you have anything you want to reach, or do you have anything you want to do in this podcast? I think this is also a little bit overlapping with like potential guests and topics and stuff, I guess. But do you have anything where you're like, oh, I would really like if we could do that at some point?
Maybe not directly podcast itself, but like I've never met Clara in person, for example. So would really love at some point for all of us just to meet up in person. Because also it's a bit insane. Like I think Imo, do you know Sönke in person, or did you not meet when both of you were still in Osnabrück?
I don't think so.
And I think you, Sophie, and you, Sönke, you also didn't meet in person.
Once.
We met at the
Once.
Space Day.
Oh, true, I remember. Okay.
For the first and last time.
Okay. But like we have two people who have each
I
one
have
person.
met Clara twice already.
I know.
And you've met me.
Yes.
Yeah. I know,
But I
Sönke-
kind of find it fascinating that I have met Clara actually twice.
I still have no idea how we managed to do that.
Point being, I think just one, not quite podcast, but still podcast goal for me would just to have all of us actually physically together in one room at some point, because just also having this project for more than 3 years, but for about 2 years in this constellation, and not knowing each person in person is also kind of impressive. And it's not like we're not all living in Germany at the moment, but we're not that far apart. It's not like we're on different continents.
Imagine organizing all of this with a time difference.
No way.
That would be the end of it.
That's hard enough to do that with some of the guests.
Mhm. But then again, maybe it would get easier, because then maybe one host and one guest would be in the same or similar time zone, and then just one person of us would need to kind of.
But
No.
weekly meetings.
But now we just need to organize with one guest,
Yeah.
so I think that's the better option.
True. Does anyone else? I don't want a hot potato anyone on this thing, so I'm gonna throw it into the middle, and you can take it and eat whatever you want of it.
I step on it.
You can also step on it.
I think I would find it really cool if we maybe found like another like social media format or Instagram format we could do, which maybe would also show more of us like behind the scenes. Because I think I love to do like the snippets of the episode, but sometimes I think it would be really cool to have also like a little bit different content as well. But sadly, I have no idea so far which is realistic for us to do, because that's like the big problem right now. But yeah, maybe we have the light bulb is going on. Or
Also, one of you
something.
has an idea that they can just throw at us again on all the ways mentioned in the beginning of this episode.
I feel like in a similar vein, I would like to, at some point, possibly acquire a little bit of funding, not because I want to earn money with this in any way, but I think it might be helpful for us because the University of Osnabrück kindly supports us in some aspects. Financially, for example, if we want to print stickers or flyers.
Or if we want to go to certain conferences, it's not just printing stuff, but
Yeah.
also like
Yeah,
little
sorry,
more
I didn't
expenses
want
behind the
to.
scenes.
Or amazing fan T-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or
I-
T-shirts.
Yeah, I didn't mean to belittle the involvement of the University of Osnabrück, but I think it would be nice because for now they kindly give us money for a lot of things, but we obviously always have to ask before. And I think it would also be nice if, for example, people could, I don't know, get a new microphone or something they could use. And also, I think it might be nice to also possibly involve somebody else in the editing. So when we're really busy, we could outsource a little bit, actually. Because, again, we're all doing this for free, which is very nice. But that also means when nobody has time, things suffer. That's just how it goes. And I think sometimes it would be nice if we could say, okay, like this one reel can be edited by somebody outside and we have money we could give them, and then we don't need to worry about it anymore. And even if we're all busy, this could still go onto our Instagram, and or the episode could go out, or whatever, you name it. So I think that might be a step I would be interested in.
I have a goal where we can't really do anything about reaching it. Or like we can't do anything for reaching it. I think it would be cool to, if this podcast at some point amounted to any outside opportunities, like being invited to actually be a guest on another podcast or do a podcast collaboration or something like that. Or, for example, be asked to moderate a talk at some point or something like that. I think that would be really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know. We can't really, it just needs to happen at some point. We can't really do anything to support that besides continuing to do this podcast, I guess.
If you want to have us on your podcast, you can
Or
also
any other thing.
just slide in our DMs.
Okay, so if nobody wants to add to the podcast goals,
It kind of goes like into the direction of what Clara said, but I think like I mean I'm very happy with like the podcast we are doing and the guests we are talking to. I think that's really fascinating. But I think like a lot of topics I see like in the layman social media posts, like people who are just like interested in things and just like put out their thoughts, for example, like on consciousness or something. They like kind of touch on cognitive science, and there isn't like really anyone I have seen who is like an authority on, or not an authority, but like very knowledgeable of cognitive science and can like give a scientific perspective on these things. Like I think like a lot of these posts about this are like kitchen table psychology, and my thoughts on this are, but I have nothing to prove it. And there's like for like physics, there are these people. There's like for archaeology, there is like a whole YouTube or like Instagram community. But I think like cognitive science is like one of the last things where like a lot of popularly discussed things touch on that, but aren't. But there isn't like anyone who really does that, and I don't think that like we right now have the capacity to do anything about that. But like either like branching off into, or maybe like inspiring someone to do that would be like a very very long term aspiration of mine.
okay. After we gained some insights on ideas and a lot of what is going through our heads from, how is it called? The living mold to bobbin lace. I feel like we should wrap this up. So our plan is for this season to now go into a summer break, as you probably have guessed. So there hasn't been an episode out in a while. And we will be on summer break until October. And for the next season, things will continue generally as they are now. So there will be an episode every second week. But we will take a longer break in the winter month because we have noticed that firstly, we need a little more time to prepare things to the quality that we would like to strive for. And the second thing is that it is very difficult to schedule recordings in December, for example, just because around here a lot of people celebrate Christmas. And also towards the end of the year, I feel like people are quite busy. So therefore, we kind of split the next season a little bit into halves. So you will hear from us from October until December, and then probably again around the beginning of March. But we hope you enjoyed this episode, even though it was not our usual kind of episode. You will have a lot of interesting things to go through in the show notes. This is going to be a long show notes. And we're really excited for everybody who has been around for this journey, especially who has been around since the beginning. And we're very grateful for everybody who listens and interacts with our content. And we hope that we can provide more interesting content for you in the next season. And if you have any suggestions for people we should talk to, also reach out to us in one of the ways which have been proposed in the beginning of the episode.
I mean, if you have a pigeon that would find us, you can also send a pigeon. Like, we take every way of communicating to us.
So thank you so much for sticking around for so long, especially also for this long episode. And you will hear from us in October. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was an aggressive bye-bye.
Do you know this video of the bus driver and the parrot?
No, I don't.
This is a meme that has been around, and now everybody around me in Maastricht yells bye-bye at each other every time somebody leaves. And we look like insane people.
Cute. Are we keeping the bye-bye or should we do it again?
Should we all maybe say bye-bye?
Bye-bye. We should all say bye-bye. What are you doing? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This was Kaleidoscience. We hope that you enjoyed this episode and we would love to have your feedback. You can rate our podcast and give us feedback on our Instagram account. Have a great week and you'll hear from us again in 2 weeks. This episode was hosted by Imogen Hüsing, Sönke Lülf, Elisa Palme, Clara Kühne and Sophie Kühne. Produced by Imogen Hüsing, Clara Kühne, Sophie Kühne, Sönke Lülf and Elisa Palme. The music is from Jan-Luca Schröder and the logo is from Annika Richter.